Welcome back, my Catholic friends. It's time for another episode of Reload, the format where I revisit one of my old videos and try to do it better. Today's subject, the Persuaders. But the real question is, can we make it better?
Attendi e qui 2 è una serie inglese prodotta da Robert Baker e mandata in onda dalla rete ITV nel 1970. La serie è composta da un'unica...
Absolutely, and we will right after the intro. Let's dive in because there's a lot to cover today. Let's start from the beginning. Back in 1962, Roger Moore takes on a role that would shape almost his entire career, Simon Templar, also known as the Saint. Why is that role so important? Well, because the Saint was a major inspiration for Ian Fleming when he created James Bond, and that alone says a lot. But there's more. One specific episode of The Saint would inspire one of the most beloved TV series in 1970s Europe, The Persuaders, which is of course what this video is all about. We're talking about Season 6, Episode 18, The Ex-King of Diamonds. In it, Simon Templar teams up with a wealthy oilman to expose a scam at the Monte Carlo casino. The dynamic between the refined English gentleman and the blunt, no-nonsense American millionaire really clicked, and producer Robert S. Baker took notice. He started working on a new series with two similar characters, heavily inspired by the buddy movie formula. You know, those films where two totally different guys become close friends despite everything. Think Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis? Baker's idea? Mix that formula with a detective twist, a few years ahead of its time, even anticipating stuff like Lethal Weapon. He brought the idea to TV legend Lou Grade, who knew one thing. If this series was going to work, it had to sell in the US, and that meant casting Roger Moore. He was perfect, suave, witty, action-ready, and the Saint had made him a household name in the States. He was even considered the top contender to replace Sean Connery as James Bond. So Grade pitches him the idea, and Moore says flat out, no. He'd just finished 7 long years of The Saint. He knew how exhausting TV was, and besides, he was this close to landing Bond, but Grade had a wild idea. No contract, just a handshake. If the Bond gig came through, Moore could walk away, no strings attached, still not enough. So Grade pulled out the big guns. Think of your country. Think of the Queen. She needs money, too. Hard to argue with that, especially when the man is stuffing a cigar in your mouth while he says it. And in the end, Moore agreed. One handshake sealed the deal. But Grade knew that to really appeal to American audiences, one British star wasn't enough. They needed a real American, a movie star. First choices, Rock Hudson and Glenn Ford. But they weren't available, and Moore didn't think much of them anyway. Then came Tony Curtis, once a Hollywood icon, now looking for a career revival. Grade flew to LA to meet him. Curtis, being cheeky, asked what to call him. Lord Grade. Grade shot back, if you sign the contract, you can call me whatever you like. Curtis, freshly divorced and tired of Hollywood, liked the idea of Europe. 2 weeks later, he was on a plane to London. His first meeting with Moore? Let's just say intense. Moore had been told not to smoke. Curtis was big in the American anti-smoking scene. Of course, Moore lit up anyway. An hour and a few cigarettes later, Curtis opened the windows, fired up a fan, and handed Moore a book on the horrors of lung cancer. 2 days later, Moore quit smoking for good. I bet he read that book cover to cover. Funny twist. A week later, Curtis was caught at Heathrow with a few grams of weed. Now, not everything on set was smooth sailing. Curtis came from big-budget Hollywood. British TV sets? A whole different vibe. He didn't always take it well, especially with personal issues weighing him down. But as the crew said, after a joint, total sweetheart. The series itself was a major gamble, Luxury locations like the French Riviera, real villas, fancy hotels, and 2 big stars. Total cost, £2.5 million. Huge for the time. Grade planned to make most of it back from US sales. Did it work? In Europe? Totally. It became a cult hit in Germany, France, Italy, Scandinavia, Eastern Europe, even Australia. In Germany, they made a bold move. They rewrote the dubbing, changed the tone, made it funnier. And it was a smash. France even based their version off the German one. And in England? Huge. On Fridays, when new episodes aired, towns practically emptied out. But in the US? Not so lucky. ABC put it in a week time slot, 10 p.m. And even worse, it aired against Mission Impossible. The show tanked. ABC dropped it before even airing all the episodes. Grade was crushed. He really believed in it and was ready for season 2. But then the Bond offer became official and Moore, as promised, took it without hesitation. Grade still thought the show could work. He even considered replacing Moore with Noel Harrison, but Robert S. Baker stopped him. That chemistry between Moore and Curtis, you can't fake it. You can't replace it. So the series ended after one unforgettable season and 24 episodes. Now let's jump into some juicy trivia. First up, Roger Moore's wardrobe. He designed all of his own outfits for the show. Every single one. And yep, he's credited at the end of every episode. That German dubbing we mentioned? Rainer Brandt rewrote entire scenes, changed the humor and turned the series into a comedy. That's what made it such a massive hit in Germany and France. You'd think the original team would be pissed. But no, Tony Curtis saw the German version and was blown away. He even wanted Brandt involved in season 2's writing, which, as you know, never happened. The show's original title was supposed to be The Friendly Persuaders. They dropped friendly, and thank God. The Persuaders just sounds cooler. And in Italy, the show was so popular that DC's local publisher, Sinesio, made a comic book version. It ran from August 1975 to May 1977. Hard to find? You bet. Want the full set of 5 issues? Expect to pay over €100. And that's a wrap. If you like the video, hit that subscribe button. And if there's a series you want me to cover, drop it in the comments.